Is it time for a guest, do you think?
Yes.
Should we do that now?
I think so.
Yeah.
I feel like we didn't have any news.
It's happened again, isn't it?
Yeah.
Should we have the news then?
Quick news insert.
Yeah.
The Gerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson, Richard James and Chris Dale.
It's the Gerry Anderson Podcast.
You haven't done that for a long time.
You see, I'm feeling much better. A week has passed and I'm fresh as a daisy.
You're looking quite fresh.
Yes.
Yeah, daisy-like.
Thank you.
in
I'm
fact.
looking daisy-like.
Yeah. Now, can I just stop you before we go any further? Because
What have I
last
done?
week, the
Yeah.
introduction to this podcast was pretty disastrous.
Well, that was your idea, though.
I know it was my idea.
Well, don't blame me.
Well, is it in the idea or the execution? I don't know.
Well, you introduce it then.
No, I'm not going to introduce it, but I'm just going to say we
Right.
should be very efficient this week.
Oh, right, okay.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is the Gerry Anderson Podcast.
Yep.
It's a podcast all about the worlds of Gerry Anderson and beyond.
Yeah.
The hosts are Richard James,
That's me. I was in Space Precinct.
You were?
I've written a few Gerry Anderson books.
brilliant ones.
Provided some voices for some Gerry Anderson productions.
Yes, you don't stop, do you?
No, I don't. And you?
I'm Jamie Anderson.
Yep.
Yes, son of Gerry Anderson.
Yep.
And I'm talking to you now.
Yeah.
And also,
Yes.
we're joined by
Third member of the
third
team.
member of the team, Chris Dale. There he is. Hi, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Fantastic.
guys. Yeah.
And we talk about Anderson stuff every week.
Yes.
The podcast consists of the following segments.
Sorry, have you got somewhere to be?
No, I just try to be
Right.
efficient.
Okay, go on then. Right, the following segments. What is this? You want me to take over now? or-
We can do it switching between us. Fab Facts, a great section where you can learn about the worlds of Gerry Anderson at random.
The Gerry Anderson news, whereby Jamie gives us some news from the Gerry Anderson universe.
Guest feature interview
Yes.
this week with the Radio Times' very own Mark Braxton.
Yes.
Mark Braxton.
Yes. And the Randomiser.
Yes.
With Chris Dale sitting on the sofa watching a random episode of a Gerry Anderson series and giving us his thoughts and comments.
Who doesn't normally interrupt like that. And also sprinkled throughout
Yes.
notes and musings and thoughts from our lovely listeners, the Podsterons,
That's right.
via email and Facebook and
Yes.
YouTube and other places.
Exactly. Yeah, there you go. Is that efficient enough for you?
Yeah.
You see, I thought that was lacking a bit of character. It's all very well just giving us a bullet point rundown of what's coming up, but it's not fun, is it?
Yeah. No, we've gone from the sort of the ridiculous to the dull.
We have. Well, I think that's been a long, long journey.
Those are the sort
Yeah.
of swings you can expect right here on the Gerry Anderson podcast. Yeah. Good.
Right.
Okay. Well, that was very efficient.
Talking of the dull, shall
why,
we...
why are you looking at me?
Well, I'm just...
Oh, you're talking about Fab Facts.
Yeah.
No, that's a segment which is never dull
Right.
until now. Okay. Here's Fab Facts.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
Right.
Yeah.
Fab Facts.
Yeah.
Terribly dull, you know.
It's a wonder it's still going.
I know. When will it end? Will it end?
How many facts are there in the
Should
universe?
it end?
Well,
How many facts are there in the universe? That's a great question. I'm not sure we can answer that, but I can answer that we do have a book of
Yes.
Fab Facts right here. Each week I flick through it, you shout Fab.
Yeah.
That lands us upon a random page,
Yeah.
very random page in the book. And from that random page, I read the Fab Fact, and we just hope it's fab.
we
Can't-
really hope,
Sometimes,
beyond hope.
sometimes it's weird.
yeah.
Sometimes it's definitely not fab.
Yeah.
But mostly they are, aren't
Yeah,
they?
mostly, I'd say, yes.
Good. Okay, are you ready with your Fab?
Born ready.
Here comes the flicking.
Fab!
Oh, very well fabbed, Richard.
really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Great.
Oh, it's
What?
it is quite a big one.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Do you
go on then.
mind?
No, go on.
You got time for it?
Yeah, slip it in.
Okay, fine. Richard, did you know that making the Super Mario Nation puppets work involved quite a lot of wires?
yeah, I knew that.
Yeah. Oh, okay, fine.
Right.
That's that one then. It seems fairly self-evident, but as we know from various accounts dealing with the wires, they were often a source of frustration to the teams making these shows, either having to disguise them or various tanglings or breakages that would have been occurring almost daily.
Yeah.
Possibly minutely.
Not
and so on.
minutely.
No, I mean every minute.
I see.
There's another consideration that most viewers would probably never even register regarding the wires on the Super Mario Nation puppets. That is the issue of hats.
Oh, right. Oh, I like the sound of this already. Go
And
on.
I already know how we're going to end this too. Okay,
Go
remember
on.
that.
Yeah.
So hats. Many regular Super Mario Nation characters and also plenty of guest characters were seen wearing hats or
Yeah.
helmets in
Yeah.
various shows, even as far back as Torchy and Four Feather Falls. To get that headgear onto the puppets involved making tiny holes in the hat prop and then running it onto the wires and then sliding it down the wires towards the puppet's head.
I can imagine.
Where presumably it would have then been more securely attached so that it moved with movement of the character rather than independently floating above the puppet's head. Yeah. For most of the hats, the holes themselves aren't too obvious, aside for the strings running into them, which you can maybe see.
Sure.
But on the smoother surfaces of the various helmets, for instance, the Angel's helmets, or the Spectrum spacesuit helmet seen in Crater 101, it's a little bit more noticeable.
Uh-huh.
But sometimes our Super Mario Nation heroes might need to take their hats off.
Right.
What then?
God, don't do that to me.
I know.
Well, what then?
It's very stressful, isn't it?
Mild peril.
Well, let me help you escape from this mild peril.
Yeah.
There would, of course, be some duplicate hats for the Tracy brothers or the Spectrum captains, but since getting them onto the wires in the first place could be a bit of a hassle, if you needed to show the character not wearing a hat from time to time, it'd probably drive you mad having to repeatedly put them onto the wires and take them off again.
Yes.
The solution,
Oh, I wonder.
I hear you ask.
Can I offer a solution?
Go on.
Well, this is what I put a little slit in the hat so you can kind of slide it off the wire.
But then you have
And
to
then
have
slide
the
it back on.
slits running to all of the entry point holes, wouldn't you? And there's like multiple wires.
Yeah, but the hat's only on one wire.
Head's got more than one, though.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the solution,
Right.
not yours, thankfully, because
No.
that would never have worked.
No.
Well, in some cases, it was just easier to run the hats back up the wires until they were out of shot because they were on like 8 feet of wire, most of them.
Yes.
So that if you happened to be in the studio, it almost looked like the puppet's hat was now hovering high over their heads. And it wasn't just regular characters who experienced hovering hat syndrome, or HHS as we're now
That's a
calling
thing,
it.
is it?
HHS, yes.
Right.
It's terrible. Listeners who own a copy of Thunderbirds The Vault can turn to page 120. I'll wait while you do that
Yeah,
now.
go on then.
Where they will see a picture of the two puppets who play the imposters in the episode of the same name, and one of them still has the hat he previously wore as a policeman in Terror in New York City floating over his head further up the wires. And on the opposite page, there's a still from the filming of the Duchess assignment where one or two floating hats can be seen over the characters in the casino.
Really?
Well, yes, that's what it says here.
Oh, well, must be true,
It
yeah.
must be accurate.
Funny.
So are we saying that this was a common occurrence? Probably not,
No.
since the Duchess assignment photo has 16 puppets in it, but only a couple of hats visible. We also have several angles of the party scene from Flight to Atlantica, and of the 12 puppets in that scene, only Harmony's helmet can be seen, but it's interesting that leaving hats on has occurred over several shows.
Yeah.
Can this hovering hat phenomenon ever be seen on screen?
Oh, I want tenterhooks. I'm going to say yes.
No.
Once.
Not,
Oh, really?
not in any episodes as far as we
Oh,
know. But if
well,
you
good for them.
take a look at the colour behind the scenes footage that was shot for Parade during the making of Thunderbirds, you'll see that the Thunderbirds puppeteers setting up a scene in that. Judith Shutt grabs the John Tracy puppet and brings it over to the set, and John's hat is visible not on his head, but floating high above on his wires. Another case of HHS.
Yeah.
So next time you watch Thunderbirds or Captain Scarlet, or maybe even some of the earlier shows, and you see a regular character in uniform but not wearing their hat,
Yes.
there's just a small but not absolutely zero chance that the missing hat might be hovering out
above
of
them.
shots
Yeah.
over their heads in another case of HHS. Anyway, I quite like that.
Yes, that was
nice,
good.
A little technical solution
Yeah.
that's, teaches you a bit about how it was made.
Yeah.
It's something to look out for.
Yeah.
Explains some photos. It's lovely.
I
Lovely.
bet there's a shadow somewhere.
Oh, a hat shadow, a
Yeah,
hovering hat shadow.
yeah.
I think they would have spotted that.
Yeah, you're right. I'm doing limited service, absolutely.
Yeah. But then again, occasionally a hand or a thumb would creep in.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
maybe.
that's right.
Yeah, Podsterons, if you spot a case of HHS or the shadow of an HHS, please do email us podcast@gerryanderson.com. But that brings us very, very neatly and quite obviously to the end of this week's
Hat Fact! Go on, we're doing well. I think that's 2 weeks in a row.
2 in a row.
We said
yeah.
the same thing.
It's all going to come crashing down.
Yeah, that's true, yes. Now, you're listening to the Gerry Anderson podcast. You might even be watching us because we've been on video. I don't know if you've noticed.
Yeah.
For the last 2 or 3 months.
Now, have you resisted coming to video? Have you tried video and not liked it?
Yeah.
Have you started on video and thought, I'll
Do
go
you know
to
what?
audio now?
Yeah. I've had enough of that.
I don't want to look at those two. I was going to say those three, but I thought I didn't want to include Chris.
No.
That felt unfair.
Absolutely right,
Everybody
yeah.
likes seeing Chris.
Yeah, oh, he's my favourite. Yes, now, I'll tell you what you could do. If you're feeling of a nice disposition today, you could leave us a nice review or a rating.
Oh, please do.
Yeah,
We love
wherever
that.
you're listening or watching, just pop a little comment and say how much you enjoy the podcast. Maybe leave some, stars and things. Maybe 5 if you're feeling
Or
really
4 if you're feeling a bit stingy.
4?
Yeah.
Why would you leave 4
never
and not
3,
5?
and definitely not 2 or 1.
Never 3. No, never 3, because that's like satisfactory. No one wants to be satisfactory.
Yeah.
I've been in 3-star theatre shows, and it's no fun when you get those 3 stars and you think, well, I suppose it's all right then. It's not terrible.
Yeah.
It's not awful.
I might as well not have done it, though.
Yeah, that's right. And also, copy the link and share us on all your social media profiles, on your Facebooks and your Twitters and your, Instagrams.
Explain why. Don't just share a sort of naked link.
No.
Give some context.
Say, hey guys, hey followers, check this out. If you do it in like really...
You're so down with the kids. This podcast is wicked. You want to say that?
Exactly.
Please say that.
I think it's about time we open the door and let in a cool breeze, don't you?
Really? Now?
Yeah. Here it comes.
This is the voice of the Podsterons.
Oh, it is nice, isn't it?
Somewhat refreshing, but creepy.
That's right. And that's going on my CV.
Another one of your reviews.
Hi, Jamie, Richard and Chris. This is from Lynn Beresford.
Hello, Lynn.
Yes. Now, Simpsons Clips 24, says Lynn, asked my husband Steve last year to do some voiceover work for a story production he did for Terrorhawks. The lovely Chris Dale doing voice work too for him.
I see, Chris.
Really?
Okay.
Bit of moonlighting, eh? Yeah. Oh, I bet he's expensive.
Terribly.
I bet he doesn't come cheap, the Randomiser. Anyway, he asked again this year if he could reprise Youngstar again, as it's the 40th anniversary of Terrorhawks. That's true, it is,
It is, just been and gone.
Yep. That show, Zelda was scary and had me as a kid hiding behind a cushion. Yeah. Must have been a very small child, or a very big cushion.
Or both.
Yeah. My husband, knowing that I'm unfortunately not able to be so easily discussive and recollective of details in Gerry Anderson shows as some of our wonderful podsterons can be, thought this a small yet important way to join in the fun and do the voice of Mary Faulkner for the named story. What a buzz! My other half was giving me a few pointers and decided Mary would sound better being north of the border.
That's quite a change.
It is, isn't it? I like it though. Hamming up your own accent to sound like Tennant, I highly recommend it. Oh, that far north of the border.
That's very far north.
Yes. I may even get a credit too, says Lynn. Anyway, the podcast is sounding good as ever, and thanks to the efforts of many, including the wonderful Willow from the Potter's Arms on TikTok, the YouTube channel, and the Facebook listeners group, we will aim to make this accessible for all and spread the word for Gerry and his legacy. Keep up the good work, guys. Well, we are trying, aren't we? Yeah. It's hard work, though, isn't it? Keeping this kind of standard up every week by week by week.
Standard, yes.
By the way, Jamie, you kept the Candy and Andy book quiet, doing nothing about it and focus on other projects. Many thanks from Lynn Beresford. Oh, P.S., can you say a massive hi to my torchy girl Biddy, as she will hear it and go all embarrassed? Not that I want to embarrass my teenage daughter. Laughing emoji.
Oh, hi, Biddy.
Hi, Biddy, from the Gerry Anderson podcast.
I think we're going to sing that.
What?
Hi, Biddy, from the Gerry Anderson podcast.
Well,
I was trying to embarrass her more.
Oh, I see. Well, you just did.
Thanks.
What you did was pretty embarrassing.
Thank you. I try.
Yeah.
I've got one.
Yes.
It's quite short.
Oh, right. Okay.
Do you mind that?
No. Okay. Always room for a short one.
This one's from Penfold UK 01.
Okay. Yep. Good.
The very first
Penfold UK. Absolutely right.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
I stumbled across the podcast like this.
Another example.
Another request we made.
Yeah.
Strangely enough, due to the events of Gerry Anderson Day 2022 in Birmingham, the first podcast I ever listened to was sitting in the live recording at the Electric Cinema. Wow, what an initiation by fire.
Imagine that. Imagine just dropping in thinking you're just going to catch some art house movie or something on a Sunday morning.
And then surrounded by the madness and, you know, maybe slightly unprofessional Gerry Anderson podcast. No, actually, you were brilliant.
Wasn't I?
You're a great live host.
I'm a great live act.
The Podsterons were great in live as well. But I'm sure you said, is this anyone's first ever Gerry Anderson podcast?
Right.
And I don't recall anyone saying yes.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't, would you?
Well,
if you're on, if you just turn up, everyone else seems to be knows what's going on. They know all the catchphrases. They're joining in with the news, and your gubbins and all that. And you're just sat there thinking, what on earth? You're not going to say, yes, I'm the...
This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. No, fair enough. Anyway, that's lovely. What a great way to find us.
Yeah, exactly. Philip says, hi, Jamie. Richard, I need to start by saying what a relief it was after a stressful day at work to know that I've got a new pod to listen to. And I'll give one example, as I couldn't believe it. Ready for
Go
this?
on, I can't wait.
A customer came to customer services at the supermarket store asking for some helium balloons to blow them up. And I asked, would you like a wait with them? And the customer responded, why do I have to wait for them? I said, no, would you like a wait with them? 8 times I had to repeat myself and hold the balloon weight in my hand before they understood what I was asking. I felt like I'd ended up in a Two Ronnies sketch.
Nice.
Anyway, it's fab news about the latest Thunderbirds audio adventure release, says Philip.
Oh, yes, Danger and Deception.
Already got it pre-ordered, as the other releases are of such high quality, and this one will be no different.
I agree.
He sounds rather certain about that.
No, it's great.
Yeah. It's also great to hear Genevieve Gaunt talk about working on these stories with great passion and respect for the original series. What a lovely talent she is. Yes.
I think we can all agree there.
Yes, we had Genevieve Gaunt in this very studio a few weeks ago, so do look out for that if you haven't seen it already. I'm really looking forward to the graphic and novel collections for Space 1999, as I waited for all of them to be available and was rewarded with a discount bundle on the Anderson store. Will be the perfect read with the longer nights drawing in. I'm now just fizzing with excitement about what you're doing for Terrorhawk's 40th anniversary, as the teaser for the graphic novel, like the new Captain Scarlet novel last year, made me very happy.
Oh, brilliant.
Now, this is good. Philip says, just keep doing what you're doing, as it's all fantastic. Oh, well, there we are then.
Yeah.
That's it. We'll just keep doing this.
Okay.
Yeah. Something for everybody. Regards, Philip.
Well, that's what we try to do, so...
Yeah, but is there anyone out there who's listening or watching and
Where are you
thinking,
going with this?
do you know what? There's nothing in this podcast for me.
Well, I mean, I'm sure in the wider world there are many billions of people who find there's nothing for them in this podcast.
Yeah.
But hopefully, if you're
Sad,
an
isn't
Anderson fan, then there is something for you.
Something, yeah.
I have another email.
Yes?
From Paul Hyder from China.
Hooray!
Hi, chaps.
Hello.
I'm in a musical pondering mood.
Oh, right. That sounds good.
I assume pondering stuff about music rather than doing pondering musically. We'll find
You
out.
could do both, yes. That's really
I've been thinking about the various pieces of music that were written for one Gerry Anderson series but then reused in later series. How did the copyright situation work there? Was all the music owned by the production company for use whenever and wherever they wanted, or did Barry Gray himself own and recycle it as he saw fit? Or did the program makers just figure nobody would notice or care if certain themes popped up again?
Well,
Best wishes from Paul.
what do we think?
Well, I'm pretty sure they would have had carte blanche for use for across the productions, either because of the deal that Barry was on or because Barry owned the music and had the publishing rights at that time.
Yeah.
Now they're owned by Sony, so you wouldn't be able to do it now. But yeah, I think music rights and stuff were just a little bit looser back then.
Yeah.
And then only when the publishing rights went on to be Sony
Yeah.
would it have gone there. I guess it would have been Century 21 Records that owned the publishing rights. So a part of the group of companies, I think. If anybody knows better, I'm happy to be corrected.
You're always happy to be corrected, aren't you?
Always, please.
And
please
frequently
correct me.
are,
Yes,
aren't you?
unfortunately so.
Yeah. Nice, thank you, Paul. That's all for now. Drop us a line, podcast@gerryanderson.com, and we'll read out your emails next time.
We will.
Yeah.
We always do.
Tell you what it's time for now.
I have no idea. Please inform me.
Well, I've seen him loitering outside. It's your doppelganger with his specs on, looking all
right.
keen and eager.
Yes.
Apparently he's got some news to tell us.
Oh.
Should we have a look?
All right, fancy pants. Over to you. Hello, Underfans. Jamie here, coming to you from a top secret location. So this is a very quick rundown of this week's Gerry Anderson news. Candy and Andy and the Verandas, the coffee table book from Four Corners Books, celebrating that weird and wonderful photo comic strip from the 1960s, is out now. If you'd like your copy, go to the Gerry Anderson store. Have you pre-ordered your Eagle or Eagles? The Eagle Transporter and Rescue Eagle launch our brand new collectibles range, and you can pre-order them now for a very special reduced price. We might just extend that offer for today only, so grab yours while you can. Space 1999 comic anthology is now in stock and shipping. We're just doing one print run of this, so if you do want one, then grab it before it's gone too. From next week, we'll be carrying on our deep dive into Dad's early life and career over on the YouTube channel, so you can look forward to that. And if you're waiting on an SPV or an Angel, they will be shipping from the beginning of this week too, so they should be with you very, very soon. Just a final thought to leave you with our new collectibles range going live, what collectibles would you like to see? Let us know. Email us podcast@gerryanderson.com. And that was the very, very quick Gerry Anderson news. back to Rich and Jamie in the studio.
Now, can I ask you about the Gerry Anderson news?
Do you have to?
Let's look back over the 5.5 years that we've been producing the podcast. Why are you yawning like
Makes
that?
me feel a bit weary that it's 5.5 years.
Well, it was your idea.
I know.
How long did you expect it to last? Like a couple of weeks?
6 months?
What's your favourite ever bit of news that's been on the Gerry Anderson news?
Oh, I don't know that.
Okay, let's narrow it down. What about since we've been doing it on video?
Oh, Candy and Andy, obviously.
Really? Is it?
Well, the fact that it was there the whole time, and I realised halfway through, I thought if I remove it, somebody might notice. And and it was quite nice revealing that.
Yeah.
I think all the Terrorhawks Day stuff.
That was fun.
A bit of a highlight, yeah.
And I was about to ask you what's the most exciting bit of news we've got coming up.
But I can't tell you that because that's in the future.
Can't you even whisper it? Because you must know. You just haven't announced it yet.
Oh, some collectibles. Collectibles, yeah. How's that?
Yeah,
Is that
that's good.
That's an exclusive.
Is it?
Yes.
Didn't feel very exclusive.
Well, the fact that there's more than what's already been talked about. There, you see.
Now it's talking.
Yeah.
Very good. More news next week. More of everything next week.
Okay.
But here's something you won't
guarantee.
get next week because he's only here for 1 week.
Only 1 week?
Yeah.
Is he very busy and exclusive?
He's a very busy man, and it's time to welcome him to our guest's chair. That's where you're sitting, so you need to move.
I'm going.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for
Here at
inviting me.
the Moxie Hotel in Slough.
Indeed, yes.
You were mentioning, as we rode the lift together, that you were enjoying the little homages around the place.
Very
Any
much
particular
so.
ones struck you?
Yes, there was a chalkboard with an outline of Thunderbird 4 on it, which
Yes.
I rather liked.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Nice touches.
Now, you work, of course, for the Radio Times.
I do.
For many of us, the Radio Times was just as much a part of family life as Anderson's shows, I think. Was it the same for you growing up?
Very much, yeah. My mum and dad had the Radio Times delivered to our family home from way back, as long ago as I can remember, really.
Yeah.
Some of my scrapbooks would indicate probably late 60s.
Really?
1970, as early as that.
Yeah.
So very much part of the furniture, yeah.
And were you one of those families that would circle every Christmas in the bumper edition
Oh,
exactly
my
what you wanted
goodness,
to watch?
Yes. But like a pet dog, not just for Christmas. Times.
Indeed, there you go. And now the 60s and 70s are often considered the golden age of TV, and I know that's when you were sort of growing up and watching TV as a child. Would you agree with that, and why?
Yes, I think I would. Two reasons, really. First of all, those programmes were very much part of the daily schedule. Nowadays, it can be quite difficult to find bespoke children's programming.
Yeah.
But back then, it was just part of daily viewing, really.
Yeah.
But I think programme makers had a lot more freedom back then.
Right.
Peter Firmin, who made Bagpuss and Clangers and those lovely programmes with Oliver Postgate, once said to me that the schedulers, the channels were starving for ideas, and he said we gave them ideas and they wanted them.
Yeah.
So I think they just had more freedom back then.
Well, that chimes with the story, of course, of Gerry Anderson's relationship with Lou Grade.
Indeed, yes.
And I think Lou famously saying, you could make a TV show about a light bulb and I'd pay you for it or something.
It's all about having a good idea, isn't
It's that trust, isn't it? That programme makers know what they're doing. And do you think we've lost that a little, particularly in children's TV?
Yeah, I do. And I just think it's more difficult to find. I'm quite sure really good shows are being made now, but they're just more difficult to find.
Yeah. Well, talking of really good shows, we're going to play a little game with you now, just to try and suss out your Anderson credentials.
Right.
It's called Super Identification, and we're going to play for you the first few snippets of each of the opening titles of each of Gerry Anderson's series.
Right.
And I want you to shout out for each one that you recognise the name of that show. Okay? Ready for this?
Yes, I think so.
Off we go.
So this is Twizzle, I think.
Yes, good.
Adventures of Twizzle. Torchy the Battery Boy.
Was that a guess?
Yeah,
Good,
kind
good
of
guess.
was. Four Feather Falls.
Yes.
I think. Supercar, gotta be.
Good.
Oh, Fireball XL5.
Yes.
Just Stingray,
Good.
first colour one. Thunderbirds, of course.
Yep.
Captain Scarlet. Love those credits.
Great,
Joe
are they?
90,
Yeah, that's it.
James' favourite. This is the Secret Server load, as I call it. Secret Service. UFO, of course. Oh, Protectors.
Uh-huh, yeah, good.
I thought it might be this first. Space 1999.
That's the one.
This is an emergency.
Terrorhawks.
You're cooking on gas, Mark.
Oh, is that Dick Spanner?
Well done.
Terrorhawks, not Terrorhawks. Space Precinct.
Good, I'll forgive you.
Is that Lavender Castle?
It is. And finally,
New Captain Scarlet.
well. Very
that
good, Mark.
something
How do you think you did there?
Okay.
Okay, it was a full house.
How was it?
You
I thought I got one wrong.
No, I think you got every single one of those right.
Crikey.
So that's 18 out of 18.
Blimey.
Which puts you, I think, with Lee Sullivan, who's our previous title holder.
The legendary.
There you are, look, dressed in your Thunderbirds gear. 18, not bad at all. Yeah. So no gaps there. Very often we have gaps, people who can't quite remember, as you mentioned, particularly the early series, but you seem to be quite spot on there.
Well, even Stingray and Thunderbirds I probably watched on repeat.
Sure.
So, yeah.
But how did Twizzle and Torchy, what's that doing in your brain?
Well, I've just seen clips, really.
Yeah.
I went to a convention around about 1981 where they showed an episode from every series up to about Space 1999.
Ah.
So they did show a Twizzle and they did show a Torchy.
I see.
So I'm familiar with them.
Ah, got you. So let's take you back to your childhood then. I mean, you now work in TV, watching TV,
Sort
reviewing
of,
TV.
yeah.
Did television play a big part in your life as a child?
Yes, probably more than it should have done.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, just watched a lot of TV, I guess, as a kid.
What sort of things were you watching? Do you remember anything particularly?
I loved anything animated. So the Trumptonshire trilogy is what they're called nowadays. So
Chigley,
Trumpton,
Candlewick Green.
So I loved those.
Yeah.
On ITV, Thunderbirds, Stingray.
Yeah.
But my favourite show back then was Vision On.
Right.
Which some of our viewers, listeners may or may not know.
Yeah.
But that was the whole package for me. It was sort of like a sketch show. It was just little bits of everything.
Yes.
Animation, comedy, mime. Absolutely loved that.
Yeah.
Art as well.
Yeah. And did you have an inkling as you were watching these programmes that perhaps you might want to work in that world somewhere?
Well, as I grew up in some capacity, I suppose.
Yeah.
My friends and I used to make films, Super 8 films.
Really?
In our teens.
Animation or
some animation,
really?
some pixelation.
Yeah.
In other words, animating humans. And,
yes.
A little bit of sci-fi.
Yeah.
Things with explosions, model work.
Wow, amazing.
So yeah, I was always quite creative, I suppose.
But never tempted to move into production then, as such, or
No, not really. I once had a terrible interview to be a cameraman, and my physics knowledge was just not good enough for that. So I started to veer more towards the writing side of things.
And do you remember watching Gerry Anderson shows back in the day, the first time, as it were, they were out?
Yes, or the first time I saw them, certainly. I remember Sunday mornings for me in the LWT region.
Yeah.
I used to watch Thunderbirds.
Yeah.
And my friend and I just absolutely loved it. And we would make the guest vehicles, if you like.
Oh, really?
Out of Lego.
Oh, yes.
Crab Logger, side one. We loved all that stuff.
I see. And was there anything you could sort of put your finger on that to your young mind, distinguish Gerry Anderson's stuff with Thunderbirds and so on from other things you were watching? Were you aware that it was different in some way?
I think people talk a lot these days about world building, Marvel and Star Wars and Disney, all these huge franchises.
Yeah.
Particularly with computers available to them. But, Gerry and Sylvia were doing this stuff 60 years ago.
Yeah.
And in a way that was very inspiring, I think, to kids, thinking that, we could do that stuff, we could make that model, we could recreate those episodes in games, things like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it was the whole world-building aspect of it.
So we've spoken a little bit about your childhood. So all wrapped up in that would be your first Gerry Anderson memory. And I was in touch with you via email prior to our meeting to see what your first memory was of an Anderson production.
Yeah.
I don't think it will surprise anyone, but let's have a look at this.
About to kill me before I let you have my treasure. Ha ha! Now I have you, Mr. Clever Tracy. Come on out! You can't escape. You can't hide behind that, Tracy. You're gonna die, don't you? There's no more protection, Tracy. Now you will die.
There we go.
Great acting.
A bit of Thunderbirds, of course.
Yeah.
The Uninvited, I think,
Yes.
specifically was the episode you mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, do you actually remember sitting down to watch that as a child?
Yeah, very much so. Everything about that episode I loved.
Yeah.
The set building was fantastic. The two bickering archaeologists were very funny.
Oh, yes.
And they really made me and my friends laugh a lot.
Yeah, because it's people often talk about Gerry Anderson's shows about the scale and it's like a mini movie every week, but actually it's also about the characters, isn't it, and the interplay between them. Even not the regular cast, but guest characters as well.
Yes, absolutely. I think in that one, Scott gets injured. The
Right.
Thunderbird one crashes,
Uh-huh.
and we see some blood on his forehead.
Right,
So,
yes.
we care about what's going to happen to
Yeah,
him.
yeah.
And, yeah.
You also mentioned another first Anderson memory in our emails, so tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, this is the first thing I remember about anything to do with the Anderson world. And my gran took me and possibly my brother to a puppet show in Cookham
Yeah.
in a village hall. And it was a general puppet show. It wasn't an Anderson,
Right.
a bespoke Anderson
Yes.
show by any means. But outside the village hall, there was a big pink Rolls Royce.
Ah.
And this would be the puppet-sized
Ah.
Rolls Royce.
The actual
Well,
pink.
I
you think?
couldn't verify that.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of your
Yeah.
listeners
How
might
interesting.
remember, but yeah, so late 60s, 1970s, something like that.
And seeing something in real life that you had seen on the screen.
Yeah.
Must have been thrilling.
It was.
Yeah.
For one thing, I didn't realise how big the puppets were,
Sure.
and therefore the vehicles.
Yeah.
But this thing just looked stunning.
Yeah, amazing. Now, we also have some questions from our viewers and listeners.
okay.
If you would be so good as to
course.
plunge your hand into this rather fetching Space 1999 lunchbox. Which
Why
seems to
weren't
be-
these around when I was a kid?
I know, it's great, isn't it? So, yes, there's a few in there. So, if you want to just have a feel around, there you go.
Right, this is from Richard Goodborn, and he says, which Anderson show would you like to see having a revival or reboot on mainstream TV?
Aha.
Well, that would have to be Space 1999.
Ah, would it?
It would, yes.
Why?
It's my favourite show.
Is it?
Yeah, from the Anderson world.
Ah, is it? So you've got a sort of a fondness for the Supermarionation shows because they're redolent of your childhood somehow.
Indeed.
But actually, Space 1999 is where it's at, do you
Yeah,
think?
absolutely.
Why is that? What could you put your finger on? What's so
I
attractive?
suppose because I grew up with these shows, so as they went on, they were getting a little bit more grown up, more adult.
Yes.
UFOs
Sure.
definitely was.
Yeah.
And Space 1999 was as well.
Ah,
So, yeah, I was the right age for it when
Yeah.
it came out
yeah.
to appreciate it. I loved the characters. I loved the setup. It seemed believable to me, the moon base.
Yeah.
And I loved the whole intelligence of that first series in particular.
Sure. Yeah.
And the philosophy behind it.
There seems to be a certain sort of cognitive dissonance about the Super Marination shows and the live action shows being under the same Anderson umbrella. Do you think they're easy bedfellows, or?
Well, I think there is some continuity in that you have this family of characters in a fantastical setting.
Yeah.
So, you could see that as a lineage, I suppose.
Yeah, and I guess there's the likes of Derek Meddings providing the effects and so on, and the model work, and which ties it all together, I suppose.
Yeah, the Eagle I loved as well. It just seemed such a believable transport.
But by the time Space 1999 came around, then you were too old to be making models in Lego, or not?
In Lego, yes, but certainly the models that came out, the Airfix Eagle.
Right. Yeah.
Was it Airfix? I'm not sure. But yeah, I was still model making by that stage.
Yeah, amazing. Take another question from the lunchbox.
This is Paul Hyder, and he says, "How has TV programming changed since you started on Radio Times in 1996?
Right.
Is it better or worse, do you think, and why?"
So you've been at the Radio Times for over 20 years then?
28 years.
28 years, almost, 30 years.
Coming up.
So have you seen a lot of changes in that time?
Well, it's difficult, this one, isn't it? I think everyone's golden age is different. It's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
So my golden age would be different from yours.
Yeah.
Might be different from the next person who sits in this seat.
Sure.
But yeah, most of my favourite shows are going back a wee while. But great stuff is still being made. One of my favourite shows from recent years is Detectorists.
Yes, of course.
Which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
It's all about having a good idea, and I think great TV also is TV that has heart. And that's what lasts, after all, isn't it?
Yes,
and that kind of programme is still being made.
Yeah.
Line of Duty, these dramas, fantastic.
But all with, both the shows you mentioned there both have sort of strong leadership.
Yeah.
Jed Mercurio for Bodyguard, I think, and Mackenzie Crook for Detectorists.
Thank you, yes. That was the other point I was going to raise, which is the writing.
Yeah.
Good writing.
That's it, that's right. And also, again, we're back to people being trusted to make programmes.
Yeah.
Almost to go away into the garden shed like Peter Furman.
Yeah.
And to make the programmes that they need to make.
Have a good idea.
Yeah, that's right. A couple more questions in there, I think, so do dig around.
Like a raffle, isn't it?
Yes.
This is Steve Bushell. Have you ever used a typewriter? And if so, when was the last time?
Yeah, I mean, you must have seen some changes in almost 30 years in how you...
how I put a story together.
That's right, yeah. So did you start at a typewriter?
Yes. Maidenhead Advertiser was my first job. I was cub reporter there, trained up.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They sent me away.
So what would be your role as a cub reporter?
Well, to use a typewriter, for one thing.
But to do any actual reporting?
Yeah, certainly. I had a patch, so I was given Bourne End and Cookham, places like this, to report on. So I would go out to those places and ask around, go to the village halls and talk to people.
Yeah.
Do you know anything that's happened in the last week? That kind of thing. So yeah, typewriters and notebooks were very much the equipment that we used back then.
And were you always heading with the Radio Times, do you think? Was there a part of you that always wanted to work for the Radio Times?
Possibly at the back of my head.
Yeah.
After I'd been in newspapers for a little while, weekly then daily, I saw an advert for a sub-editor in the listings department of Radio Times.
Yeah.
And I went for it straight away.
Yeah.
So clearly seeing the brand Radio Times must have piqued my interest.
Yeah, that's right. And I think just time for one more question, if you want to... that's it.
So this is Paula Hembury, and she asks, the Radio Times recently listed its top 100 TV programmes.
Ah, yes.
What would you put at number one? Which Anderson show would you put at number one?
Okay.
Don't know if that's the same question.
Yeah, it could be, I suppose. I suppose it's asking in general what would be number one, but if you had to choose an Anderson show to put there.
Space 90.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
And would that be the same as my overall? That's very difficult.
Yes.
What would be yours?
My top ever show to put at number one. It really is difficult because what criteria are we using? Because there are shows that I undoubtedly love, like Fawlty Towers. I mean, that can't be far off the number one spot. Blackadder. But then there's also Doctor Who, Space 1999.
Doctor Who.
Shows, like The Detectorists, more recent.
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't have to make that list. That's all I'm saying.
Detectorists will be from the last sort of 20 years or so my favourite show.
Now, it's time for your quick fire 5. Now, this is nothing to worry about. It's short and sharp and painless, but I'm going to ask you 5 questions with an either-or response required. Ready for these?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather spend the weekend on Tracy Island or on the moon with the Clangers?
Oh, Moon with the Clangers.
Oh, really? Thunderbird 2 or Ivor the Engine?
Thunderbird 2.
Oh, I could see it was close. Yeah. Choose a pet, Bagpuss or Mitch the Monkey from Supercar?
Bagpuss every time.
Really? Who would you rather choose for a heart-to-heart, Stingray's Aquamarina or Dr. Helena Russell from Space 1999?
Helena.
Do you think she'd be quite empathetic or...
I'd like to think she would.
And finally, you must choose a colour from the Dulux colour range to join Captain Scarlet and Spectrum. So, are you Captain Cloudy Dreams or Lieutenant Overtly Olive?
Mum used to say I used to be a bit of a daydreamer, so probably that one.
There you go. So Captain Cloudy Dreams.
That's the one.
That's it. It's a perfect fit. Well done. That was your quick fire 5. But now let's move on. We've mentioned the show already, but now we're going to take a look at one of your favourite Anderson moments.
The cycle's begun! The sea of tranquility will become a genuine sea. All those craters will fill up, become circular lakes. Oh, John, it's going to be a beautiful new world. Wait a minute. How long will it take? Hardly rain. Victor, those circular lakes will look wonderful. But Alpha is built in a crater. And if it rains as hard as you hope it will, right at the bottom of one of those lakes will be Moon Base Alpha.
Well, a bit of mild peril there from Space 1999, The Last Sunset, I think.
Indeed, yes.
And when I asked you again via email what your favourite Anderson moment was, you went straight for that, didn't you?
Yes, I suppose I was choosing a Victor moment.
Yeah.
And you could take any of those.
Yeah.
There's some nice moments in The Full Circle where you just hear him whistling or humming. It's just that humanity.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that scene because the roles were switched slightly because Victor really should have thought that through.
Right, yes,
being
of course.
the scientist.
Do you think so? Yes. Yeah.
And Koenig had to sort of bring him down to earth with the bump.
Yeah.
But I just love his cheeriness, his optimism. Always makes me smile, that scene.
And sadly missed in the second series.
Really, yeah, that was terrible to take him away. I think he was very hurt by not being asked back.
Right.
I get the impression from interviews I read with Barry.
Yeah. And the series really seems to miss him, doesn't it,
Yeah,
I think?
it does. He was the human touch.
Yes.
And in the books of Space 1999, they would talk about his mechanical heart and him being slightly emotionless.
Right.
Which is a nonsense, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
He was the human character
Yeah,
of the
that's
show,
right.
for me anyway.
Yeah. Do you tend to find if you watch a TV series, there's always a character that you will identify with most?
Yes, probably.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we all latch on to someone, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what sort of characters do you find the most attractive then in series?
The philosophers, the ones who think a bit about
Yeah.
life in general.
Yeah.
I always liked Victor's optimism as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe something along those lines.
Yeah, yeah. So I suppose the big question is, here you are from the Radio Times. I know you've watched an awful lot of TV in your time. Have you been able to put your finger on what makes a great TV series?
Well, I mentioned this earlier. I think the things that last are the things that have been made with love and that have a heart to them. Gerry and Sylvia got such a cast of people around them who were brilliant at what they did. They were very good at talent spotting in that way. So that's one thing, having people around you that are good. But it's about the writing and anything that has a heart, a heartbeat.
Yeah.
That's what lasts.
Yeah. Now, you'll be relieved to know that it's time to play one of my favourite games called Cute, Mute and Recruit.
Right.
Now,
will I, Richard? Will I be pleased?
Time will tell. Now, this is very simple, actually. What we're doing is we're assembling our very own version of an international rescue squad of characters from the worlds of Gerry Anderson to help out in some hypothetical disaster.
Right.
And each guest gets to choose from 3 cards, which they will mute, in other words, never want to hear from again, which they think is cute, sweet, funny, attractive, or which they want to recruit to our international rescue team, okay? So far, we have Victor Bergman.
Yes.
In fact.
Good.
Anyway, you can see at home all the ones that have been picked so far, and it's time now for you to choose from these 3 random cards that were picked for you by John Lee, who was our guest to celebrate Terrorhawk's 40th anniversary. So, are you ready for these? We have Father Stanley Unwin from the Secret Service. Is he mute, cute, or recruit? Here's your second one, the Hood from Thunderbirds. And finally, we have Captain Xantor from Space 1999. Who would you like to mute? Who is cute, and who will you recruit?
So, when he was speaking sense, Father Unwin was very sensible.
He was. True enough.
So I think I would recruit him.
Aha!
Perhaps controversially.
There he is. Good. So, which of these is cute, and which would you mute? It's a difficult choice. I'll give you that.
Well, in the tradition of pantomime, I think we have to put the Hood into mute.
With a boo and a hiss.
So what does that leave?
Well, that means that Xantor, as played by Christopher Lee, you think is cute.
It was a very good performance.
Exactly. Let's stretch the definition as far as we possibly can.
And he was a very wise character.
Indeed so. There you go. But you have recruited Father Stanley Unwin to our cause. So thank you very much for that. Now, we're getting rather low on these cards, but I would now like you to choose 3 random cards there for our next guest. You can take a look if you want, but we don't need to know right now. And one more. There we go. And if you pass them to me, and I shall hand them on to Nicholas Young, who's our next guest, to choose for the next round of Cute, Mute and Recruit. But for now, before we go, Mark, is there anywhere where people can get in touch with you or find you online?
Probably Twitter is the best place.
Mm-hmm.
So, Braxt M.
Braxt M?
Or just put Mark Braxton.
I do love your Twitter or your X feed because very often you tweet pictures from old Radio Times, from On This Day in History and first broadcast here and the last episode shown there.
Many of them by Don Smith. Great photographer.
Yeah.
And I just like posting archive stuff, really.
Yeah, fantastic. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, let's thank Mark Braxton.
Thank you.
Lovely Mark Braxton.
Lovely Mark. And always when I think of Mark, I think of Bagpuss.
Do you know, I always think of the Clangers because he sent me a rather nice picture and I've seen it previously of him surrounded by the Clangers. Yeah, isn't that nice?
Well, because his profile picture on X, formerly known as Twitter, is Bagpuss, isn't it? Which is why I just,
Yeah, he loves all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, a real nostalgist.
Well, as we spoke about in the interview.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. Now, next week, I think we have the first part of an interview with Nicholas Young, who was in possibly... Is this contentious to say one of the better regarded 2-part stories of Series 2 of Space 1999, The Bringers of Wonder?
I think that's probably reasonable to say. I don't hear anyone shouting that that's not the case.
It's the only 2-part 7-season Space.
It's the best regarded only 2-part.
Well, the best story, isn't it, really? That's what I mean.
Yes.
I watched it just the other day ahead of my interview with Nicholas and I rather enjoyed it.
Good.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad you did.
So he'll be talking to us about that, and of course the Tomorrow People, which is also what he's most famous for, perhaps. Quite a popular figure on the convention front. So I know there are lots of Podsterons out there who would have met him at some point.
Yes.
So
Well, we
that's
had
nice.
breakfast with him, didn't we?
We did.
As well as 5 doctors.
That was weird.
4
wasn't it?
doctors.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So now let's head on over to YouTube
It's a
because
nice
the
place.
official Gerry Anderson YouTube channel is chock full, bursting to the seams.
is.
It runneth over with goodness.
Yes. What a phrase.
And sometimes people comment underneath it. For example, I've seen there's a new mini sort of documentary strand, The Early Life of Gerry Anderson, produced
Yes.
by the wonderful Ross Arrowsmith.
I believe he's one of your favourites. Is that right?
Beneath which, Peter Littman said, it's not an exaggeration to say I actually grew up with, along with millions of other people, Gerry Anderson. I was 5 when the 60s began and 15 when they finished. Alongside the Beatles, Gerry Anderson was responsible for the best possible entertainment for every single year while growing up. Before the Xbox age, children loved 2 things: pop music and telly.
Oh, yes.
By saying the Beatles and Gerry Anderson, I rest my case, says Peter Littman.
Fine.
Yeah,
If that's the case for the defence or the prosecution.
that'll be the case of the defence, I think.
Brilliant.
I'm
Fine.
not quite sure what the charge is.
No.
But,
Well done, Peter. Beautifully done. I've got Odie Dillon here.
Yes.
Says, Jamie, Richard, and all of Anderson Entertainment, I cannot thank you enough for sharing these clips with those of us who grew up in the worlds of Century 21, Gerry and Sylvia Anderson, a fab entertainment era.
Yeah.
The memories of those great days keep flooding back with each episode I watch, as well as rewatching the Super Mario Nation series from the late 50s through to the 70s and beyond into the live action ones. That's a nice thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're very happy to share these things with you. That's why we do it.
Yeah. Genevieve Gaunt joined us to celebrate Thunderbirds Day.
She did.
And JetDom767 says, Genevieve is such a lovely lady. She is Lady Penelope, as is John is Parker. She's doing amazing work for GA Productions.
She blooming well is.
Yes, she makes it look effortless as well.
Yeah,
How did she do that?
She's just got that air about her.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant. Fishplate Films
Yes.
says, fantastic show, lads.
Ah,
That's nice, isn't it?
thanks.
As a boy, I grew up with Thunderbirds in the 70s and still love it today. And to see the tradition being carried on is FAB.
Of course it is.
What a lady Genevieve is. Talented, smart, and almost too gorgeous. Well, that's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
But down to earth and a great role model for young women. Isn't that lovely?
I agree.
Great role model for everyone.
Exactly. I was about to say that. I would go much further. Yeah, simply a great role model.
She's brilliant.
Yeah. Death Star 1977. I like the cut of his jib. Or her says, my question, which is more of a request. I understand that Anderson Entertainment has started going into the physical media business.
We have indeed.
And after the unfortunate demise of Network, this was a miracle. And supplying releases for the UK and US. After seeing your release of Space Patrol, I was wondering if we can see more Gerry Anderson titles on DVD or Blu-ray, and maybe even 4K from you in the future, like New Captain Scarlet or Terrorhawks. Also, since you have the connections with ITV, who also have a deal with Shout Factory, maybe you could talk to them about even doing Gerry's ITC productions, and even combine the extras from both UK and US releases. Food for thought, but it would mean a lot if you put this into consideration. Thanks.
Consider it in consideration.
Oh, yeah.
We are already talking about these things.
Yeah.
New Captain Scarlet was only produced in HD. So a 4K upscale of CGI, I'm not sure how well that would work.
Yeah.
Similarly, Terrorhawks, 16mm print material is the only stuff that's available. I'm not sure how well that will cope with a 4K restoration.
Right.
But we are playing with these things. But yeah, we've got lots of plans for physical media over the next few years.
Yeah.
So, yes, stand by for physical media.
Oh, disappointing. Yeah, because what we want is everything looking the same on our shelves. Everything under one kind of umbrella thing, all the same,
I'm
with
very
everything
keen
on
for
it.
that. I'm very keen for that. We're trying.
Yeah. Sweetcorn 1968 says, surely Space 1999 should be considered a period drama now and not sci-fi.
Yeah, it's more Downton Abbey than it is.
Oh, I've always thought that. Yes. It's true. I mean, it is certainly of a style, isn't it, with the sideburns and the hair and the flares and so
Yeah,
on.
and the date.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, but you sort of look through that. It still seems like the future to me.
it's a retro future, isn't it? So it's fine.
Future. Exactly. All for now, but do comment on our YouTube channel because we will read them out if they're nice. Most of them are nice because, we just attract nice people.
Yeah, there's the odd not nice one, but
Is there?
Yeah.
What, they blocked or something?
no, I just always think they must be very unhappy. So
Right.
we don't, we want to spread the happiness. We don't want to,
No. Quite right.
amplify unhappiness, do
Well,
we?
you brought it up.
I know. Well, let's stop talking about it then. Should
I
we
mean,
move
I was
on?
feeling fine until then.
Well, you know who brings us happiness always?
Who's that?
Well, it's one of your favourites for the podcast. I'm not sure which one he is right now.
4th or 5th, maybe.
Okay, one of the top 5 of Richard's favourites from the podcast.
Yes.
It's Chris Randomiser Dale.
Yes.
And he's going to bring us the randomiser.
Right.
Where a button is pressed.
Yes. Bye.
Well, by Mark Braxton, I hope.
Let's see how he goes.
Over to you, Chris.
So Mark, thank you for coming in to join us today. I hear the only reason you've made the trip in is because you're very excited about pressing the button on the randomiser here.
Exactly.
So whenever you're ready, if you'd like to give it a go, we'll see what you can come up with today.
Right, let's not waste any time.
Here we go.
There we go.
Well done, very good. So what series are you hoping might pop up on here today, possibly?
Maybe some UFO?
UFO.
Yes.
I don't think we've had any UFO since we've been recording in this
Really?
film. And we're not going to have any today either. What
okay.
series have you managed to pull up for us today?
Four Feather Falls.
Feather Falls, and the episode is Escort. I don't remember anything about it, but it's Four Feather Falls. It'll be fine.
Good luck.
Thank you very much. So it's time to welcome back to the randomizer Four Feather Falls. We always love a bit of Four Feather Falls with Escort, which is an episode that I was looking at fairly recently, because you may recall that when Nigel Planer was our guest on the podcast, he was asking for a specific line of Tex Tucker's, and I did go through some episodes trying to find it. Couldn't find it. But this shot here, I recognised from one of the trailers that was shot for Four Feather Falls around this time. It may even be that this is trailer footage. I also noticed that the camera just got a bit too close to the edge of the set there.
I'm letting you out of here.
Oh.
It's all right, Sheriff.
I'm letting you out so that you can cause some trouble, and then I can arrest you again, and the whole cycle continues until the end of time. Pedro and Fernando are in jail, but Tex is letting them out. He's feeling generous today.
Because next time I see you back, you're gonna be mighty sorry.
There ain't no justice. Throwing us out of jail like
So, apparently Pedro and Fernando really wanted to stay in jail. I guess they
Glad to see the back of them two.
don't have anywhere to live.
Stay out of my hair for a bit.
But probably not. Why do you think they're going to change their ways?
Gee, Mr. Morse, I wish I could be a telegraphist like you.
I thought you wanted to be a bloodthirsty sheriff and to shoot up everybody inside.
Yes, that's all I ever hear.
Jake has significantly downgraded his dreams there.
There's a message coming through.
It says, I don't give a damn what you want out of your life, Jake. Why am I even looking after you?
now he gets hungry. Now we ain't got no money.
Oh, dear.
Jake, how'd you like to earn yourself a nickel?
Oh.
And deliver this telegram to Mr. Jackson for me.
Mr. Jackson, who's, he's all the way over on the other side of the street. That's well worth giving Jake a nickel for.
Four Feather Falls.
But Pedro and Fernando are outside listening into all this.
Please arrange sheriff's escort. Stop bringing gold. Signed, Alvin P. Hudson.
Because there's someone coming to town
No, we're in business.
with a bit of gold
Nico is not good. You heard. He wants an escort.
in need of an escort.
I got a plan.
Oh, another one of Pedro's plans. From the big book of Pedro's plans. It involves, basic villain plan, changing the signposts round.
She's pointing straight to our shot now.
Sure, that's just what we want.
Oh, yeah.
What I don't understand.
This man Hackenbacker, he wants sheriff.
Oh, Hackenbacker, okay. Some pre-Thunderbirds use of the name Hackenbacker, okay.
What difference? He ain't never seen us before.
So they're going to pose as Tex's, if not deputies, then
Deputy
representatives.
stars.
Oh, okay. He's knocked up some deputy and sheriff stars, okay. So he's going to be Sheriff Pedro and Deputy Fernando. Oh, but who's this watching them? It's old Big Ben on his derpy horse.
Come on, fellas. Maybe a song will help to shorten the miles.
I was just thinking that the plot was going a bit too fast for my liking. Yes, let's slow it down and have a song.
Ain't no stopping that guy once he gets a bit between his teeth.
in Four Feather Falls.
Oh, here we go. Okay. It's always I always sit there wondering what song they're going to sing from the repertoire of four.
Four Feather Falls.
You'll always find a vacant chair.
But anything can happen.
Ah, yes, this is Dusty and Rocky's duet version. I like as well that Tex is playing on the harmonica, which involves both hands for the most part, being taken off of Rocky's reins.
Four Feather Falls, Four Feather Falls, the only place on earth to be.
It's true. There's Four Feather Falls, Four Feather Falls, is heaven on the range to me. If Mr. Hackenbacker shows up at this point and sees that this is the sheriff of Four Feather Falls, he might have some questions. He might find Pedro and Fernando slightly more credible.
Four Feather Falls.
Four Feather Falls is heaven on the range to me. Is heaven on the range to me. I wonder if Kenneth Connor was singing, if he was alternating between the two voices, or if he did one first and then the other. We'll never know.
Credit to me.
Oh,
now we got to
nice.
Keep moving. We don't want to keep Mr. Huckenbacker waiting.
Oh, Huckenbacker. Okay.
Get up there, boy. Come on. Get up.
Is this a Nicholas Parsons character? Is that... Goodness. It's a toss-up between Pedro and Fernando as to who has the derpiest horse this week. I think Fernando just about has it.
Thought for a minute that you were bandits.
Yeah, that is Nicholas Parsons.
Senor, do we look like bandits? Here is...
Oh, can you not see my big smiley face and the sheriff's star?
I am Deputy Pedro, and this is
Oh,
my
okay.
partner, Deputy Fernando.
Oh, so they're representing themselves as Tex's deputies, okay.
Maybe we should move on. Yeah?
I just can't tell you how much safer I feel having you two fellows around.
This is a good voice from Nicholas Parsons.
Game, is it? Reckon I'll take a hand in it.
Well,
And now tell me, how long have you been working with Tex Tucker?
Not long.
he looks like quite a small puppet as well compared to Pedro and Fernando. It's quite, actually that is quite a good guest puppet for this show. It wouldn't look out of place in, even as late as XL5 I think you could probably get away with that guest puppet. It's quite a pleasant face he's got.
What you can make a mistake. Senor, it's a good job we come along.
You're darn tootin', especially with all the gold I got stashed in this rig.
Oh yes.
All the same.
Be sure to mention the gold, these complete strangers you just met.
But you see, we go a secret way. It's much safer.
I must say, I really appreciate the way you boys is looking after me. And
Yeah, I don't think Nicholas Parsons gets enough credit for his voice work on this show. Because obviously Kenneth Connor and David Graham are just superb. And then people kind of go, well, Nicholas Parsons, he was the voice of the sheriff and no one else. But it's not true, because he was the voice of Dan Morse and other guest characters in the show. This, I think, is probably one of his best. But here's Big Ben. He's drawn his gun on them.
Ben, for this I will personally kill you.
Maybe not this week, or maybe not next week, maybe not in the whole series, but...
Wearing tin stars. Get off them horses.
Oh. La 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 la. La 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 la. Why are we riding out here? Oh, right, they're coming to see Hackenbacker. Okay. I forgot what they were doing, yes.
I hate to mention this, but have you noticed the signpost?
Pointing the wrong way. And I'm quite relieved that we're now at this point with Four Feather Falls where I think I've covered a lot of the earliest episodes, and we've been covering a lot of early episodes recently. So it's nice to see Four Feather Falls at the point where all of the characters are basically settled down. There's none of that early installment weird puppet stuff that I find a bit distracting in early days Four Feather Falls.
You ain't gonna let him get away with this, are you?
He got the drop on us if we try.
As Mr. Hackenback hasn't quite figured out what's going on here. Oh! Hand insert shot. Fernando has thrown his knife at Big Ben, and it's pinned the sleeve to a tree. Ah, that's where they were.
No time to lose.
And I said that in my most mellow voice. So it's a huge shootout now between all the villains. Pedro and Fernando seem to be shooting at each other. I'm not sure that's... Oh, Mr. Huckenback has got a gun as well. Yeah, he's quite a good shot. Oh! What happened there? Almost looked like Fernando caught fire. Oh!
Tex Tucker. Tex Tucker.
I was gonna make that line, and I was just waiting for him to do it. Yes.
Is here.
Aww.
My tool. What? Sure.
Oh, if only I hadn't let them out of the jail cell. How was I to know they would cause so much trouble?
We're pretty smart guys, eh, Fernando? Por amigo, the goal. What do you mean? The goal is safe.
Okay, so now we're going to spin it that Pedro and Fernando were trying to help.
I just don't know how to thank you two boys. I reckon I do, Mr. Herkenbacker.
Herkenbacker,
Just a way
okay.
to show my appreciation.
I prefer Hackenbacker.
Done today.
And that's to put them back where we found them at the beginning of the episode.
You boys comfortable?
It's like it's starting over.
Food okay?
See, it's good.
So all you need now is a good night's rest.
Well,
we sleep like angels, Sheriff.
where's Big Ben? Where's he being incarcerated?
Something out there to sweeten your dreams.
Oh, what's this? Pedro looks up at the bars. What have we got here?
And when you've shifted that much, and not before.
Huge pile of rubbish. Oh, okay. So he's actually going to make them work for their board and lodgings for a change.
Let us out of here.
Where'd Big Ben end up? This, I know it's a very small jail cell, but I'm sure I've seen the three of them in there on more than one occasion. Anywho, that was Four Feather Falls Escort. And yeah, another thoroughly decent episode of Four Feather Falls. I wouldn't say that's one of my favourites, because, I mean, at this point, why would you ever let Pedro and Fernando out of the jail cell? Because you know by the end of the episode they're going to end up in there anyway. But I did like the setup of that story. I always like when we have the three, well, Pedro, Fernando and Big Ben. And I also liked Mr. Herkenbacker, Hackenbacker, blah, blah, blah.
Ah, Four Feather Falls. I've got a soft spot for Four Feather Falls ever since Brit Sci-Fi.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think Chris does as well.
You've certainly got a soft spot, yes.
Yeah,
for
lovely.
Four Feather Falls. Yeah, it is nice, isn't it? I do enjoy it. Yeah. It's sweet.
And just, it's kind of harmless, lovely, kind, sweet-natured fun.
There you go.
And very kind of its time, but still accessible.
Right, there you go. Yeah, nicely summarised there.
Is that a fair review? I don't know.
I think it was a fair review. How many stars would you give it?
Oh, more than 3, because 3 makes it pointless.
As discussed, we want 3.
Yeah, okay.
That's right. Exactly.
3.5.
Oh, even that. Yeah, great.
Four.
Good.
4 feathers.
Of course. All for now, but we will be back next week for Pod 282, I think.
282.
Yeah, that's right. Yes. Yeah, exactly. We'll have Nicholas Young joining us as a studio guest. Yep. We'll have the Randomiser, we'll have Fab Facts, we'll have the news, and we'll have emails from our Podsterons.
And the ever-evolving list of Richard's favourite members of the podcast team.
Do try and keep up.
Can't wait.
You're 7th. Bye.
There's only 5 of us.
Let's get started. Let's go.
Would you like to know the criteria by which I judge the members of the Anderson team?
I mean, there's nothing I'd like to hear more than that.
How nice they are to me.
Right.
How often they get me cups of coffee.
Well,
and whether
okay.
they avoid eye contact when they pass me in the corridor when we're not recording.
Okay. I mean, I feel like I might, on recording days, have more eye contact with you than your own wife does.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably don't want to think about that too
It's
much.
a bit awkward now. Your eyes are boring into me now, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's really spooky. How do you do that?
Sorry, I'll look away from you in the corridor now.
That's really.
Shall I go and get you a coffee?
That'd be nice. Don't look at me, though.
You're so lovely. Okay, I'll go and get you a coffee now. Bye.
I'll never make you past number 5. That was an Anderson Entertainment production.